Last week, we shared 10 items for your emergency pantry that last a really long time. Well, this week, we're going to do it again. How about 20 more items for your emergency pantry, all of which last a relatively long time? Hey, if you're a fan of practicing practical frugality in a way that doesn't leave you feeling depressed or deprived, then you are in the right place.
And hi, I'm Larry.
And I'm Hope.
And welcome to Under the Median, where we practice practical frugality. And we want to just thank you for hanging out with us. And tonight, we discuss
items we have on the shelves of our pantry. We're going to show you each item and explain why we think each one is important for you to have in your emergency food supply. Now, last week, as we mentioned, we dropped a video with our top 10 list. Now, if you missed watching that video, we're going to make sure that that video is linked up above and in the description of this video because you're going to want to make sure that you give that a watch. Now, in relation to last week's video, I talked about sauerkraut, and a lot of you schooled me in sauerkraut. So I made a comment on the video that sauerkraut has probiotics, which it does, but not all sauerkraut. Once sauerkraut has been processed under high heat conditions, it actually loses all of those probiotics. Now, probiotic-rich sauerkraut is available. It's in the refrigerated section. Really common brand that people like is called Bubby's. You can also make your own. If you do one of those two things, then you're going to get that probiotic value. But the stuff on the shelf of your pantry doesn't really have it. It does have some fiber. So if you want some fiber, and if you're like me and you just really like the taste of sauerkraut, that's the way to go. But if you want those probiotics, make sure you're looking for one of the brands in the refrigerated section, or you're actually making your own DIY in it from scratch.
Okay, Hope. Well, let's get started on tonight's list. So we mentioned we have 20 items. The first item is canned olives.
Why do we like canned olives? Because they're a great source of healthy fat. Because they are brined in salt, they last for a long time on your pantry shelf for at least a year. And it doesn't take a lot of olives to add a lot of flavor to meals. And that might be super important if you're in a position when you are creating meals only from items found on your pantry shelves.
The next item on the list is dried fruit. It has a very concentrated flavor and it has a lot of fiber.
Now, the only drawback to dried fruit is that it is really high on the glycemic index. So that means that it has a lot of sugar in it, but it also has a lot of fiber in it. So you got to kind of balance those two things. Now, it will last because of the way that it is actually dried and preserved. It'll last a good 6 to 12 months on your pantry shelf. And in fact, 6 to 12 months past the sell-by date that is generally printed on the side of the package. So dried fruit, great thing to have on your pantry shelf. To tell if dried fruit has gone bad, use your senses. If it's darkened or it doesn't look right or it doesn't smell right or it looks moldy, probably best not to eat it.
Item number 3 on our list is chia seeds. Now, chia seeds are also packed with fiber, and they also help to lower blood pressure.
Now, chia seeds have that magic thing called mucilaginous fiber. What that means is that like when you add a little bit of water to chia seeds, it gets kind of that goopy looking stuff. That's the mucilage. So when you actually eat the chia seeds and it goes through your system, it coats your intestinal tract. And for lack of a better word, it keeps everything moving through nice and smooth. You need some mucilaginous fiber. The best way to get it, either chia seeds or flax seeds. Chia seeds will last longer on your pantry shelves.
Number 4 on our list is hard liquor. Now, before you get too appalled at that, there are a lot of good uses for this product.
Now, we would never tell you if you have a religious objection to having liquor in your home, or you have another reason why it's a really, really bad idea to stock hard liquor in your home, then above all, do not do it. But we're going to tell you why we have hard liquor in our home, and believe me, it's not to drink copious amounts of it. So hard liquor, why is that important on your emergency pantry shelves? Hard liquor, first of all, never expires. You can keep it on your shelf forever and it is never going to go bad. But there are so many medicinal reasons to have hard liquor on your shelf.
80 proof alcohol has many medicinal uses.
Now, in order to use alcohol for medicinal purposes, it does need to be 80 proof or higher. What does that mean, 80 proof? You're going to look at the front of your bottle. Now, generally, alcohol is either going to have the proof listed on it or it's going to have the alcohol content by volume listed on it. This is 40%. In order to figure out the proof, you multiply that percent by 2 and you get 80 proof alcohol. So this is vodka and it can be used for medicinal purposes. But what do you use it for?
80 proof alcohol can be used to disinfect wounds. It can be used as an astringent. That would be to close pores.
It also, by the way, eases the pain of like a sunburn. It will also cool off the pain and the itch associated with bug bites or bee stings. You can use it to repel insects, clean glass. If you have like a tooth that's hurting, you can soak a cotton ball with a little bit of 80 proof alcohol or above, just stick it up there on that tooth and it's going to numb the pain of that toothache. But there's one thing that we consistently use this alcohol for that we have not yet mentioned.
Hope makes tinctures with alcohol, and she's been doing this for several years now. We use it if we have a heavy cold or some other kind of illness, but I'll let Hope explain the uses.
Now, basically, in making a tincture, you're going to take your alcohol, you're going to put a volume of herbs into a glass jar and then just cover those herbs with the alcohol, put the lid on, put it in a cool, dark, dry place, shake it up every couple of days. And within about 6 weeks, the alcohol is going to draw out all of the medicinal qualities from those herbs. Then you take the herbs out of the mixture and you can put it in dark glass bottles like this. And remember, when you're using a tincture, you're only using just a few drops several times a day. We are not doctors. We don't even play doctors on TV.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV.
Do your own research.
One of the first things that Hope did with the vodka was she made vanilla extract with it. And that's just a very simple procedure. She bought these long vanilla beans. They actually look like green beans to me. And she soaks those in alcohol for several months. And after that, you take out the beans and you have what's left is your vanilla extract. And believe it or not, that is how vanilla extract is made. The nice thing about vanilla, since it's based on alcohol, it will last on your shelf basically forever. And another item that will last as long is soy sauce.
Soy sauce, now in this case, it's because of the high salt content. Soy sauce will last pretty much forever on your pantry shelves. Once you open it, it will last probably another 2 to 3 years. So even after you get it opened, it's a pretty long-lasting thing to have in your pantry.
But I can tell you this, once we open it, it doesn't last us any 2 or 3 years. How many? Maybe a few months. We all like soy sauce, especially on rice. Oh man, it's so good.
Here are more things on our list that actually last pretty much forever. Yellow mustard, this is Larry's favorite condiment in the whole wide world. Tell us in the comments section whether you like yellow mustard, Larry's favorite, or what I would prefer. This is some Coleman's English mustard. Tell us, which are you a fave of, and do you have mustard on your pantry shelf?
My favorite snack is popcorn, and I think it's our favorite family snack. For one, it's inexpensive, it's filling, and it's a good source of fiber, and it lasts almost indefinitely. Now, the only thing that popcorn will do as it ages is that you may get some unpopped kernels, which would be old maids. Another item that lasts almost indefinitely, and I wouldn't exactly call this a health food.
Not a health food, guys.
But, it's important that food tastes good, isn't it? So I don't think I would be eating oatmeal without some kind of sweetener on it, whether you use sugar or honey or whatever is your preference. Sugar is a good item to have long-term in your pantry because it lasts virtually forever. Now, the only thing about sugar, and this happens especially in the summertime, it might harden and so it won't maybe pour quite as freely. It depends on how well sealed it is.
You may be actually tempted to take it outside, let's say on the back patio, and strike it forcibly with a hammer.
Yeah, somebody's been known to do that, but it works. You want to put that in a heavy Ziploc bag, though, if you do that, in case your hammer rips through the package. Trust me. Another good item to have in your pantry is instant coffee. Once again, it lasts virtually forever.
Now, we are huge coffee fans, but coffee beans aren't going to last nearly as long as instant coffee. This will last about 25 years on your pantry shelf.
Last week, we talked about baking soda. This week, we're going to talk about cornstarch. Once again, it lasts virtually forever, and it has so many uses. Besides using it in your cooking, it has a lot of medicinal purposes.
Cornstarch will soothe a sunburn. It will also take the place of an egg in vegan cooking. If you're vegan like us or you don't have any eggs on hand, you can use cornstarch and a mixture of water as a substitute for an egg when cooking. It takes the sting out of bug bites. It's also an ingredient in DIY deodorant and DIY cleaners. And most importantly, you can use it in making slime. Tell us in the comments section, do any of your kids or your grandkids make slime? It's that stuff, it's like stretchy, it's goopy, the kids like to play with it. It's like a science, it's the only science experiment that I virtually did that turned out the way it was supposed to turn out. Slime, homemade slime. Tell us if you know what we're talking about.
We're about halfway through our list, and if you're enjoying this video, give it a thumbs up. It kind of helps the algorithm. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're not a subscriber. That way you'll be notified when we post new videos.
Hey, one thing I do want to slip in here real quick before we go back to our list is the fact that I actually have a free ebook. I offered it last week toward the end of the video, and I wasn't real sure that a lot of people who watched the video were able to actually see that at the end of the video. So I'm going to slip it in here in the middle to make sure that you get a chance to order it. It is the Pantry Stock Up Workbook. It's a workbook checklist. Will take you through 50 of the things we think are super important to have in your pantry at all times. There's also separate lists for herbs and spices. You want to grab a copy of that ebook. It's free. There's a link in the description of this video. And now back to our list. The next item on our list, Bullion Cubes. Now, I think we have to be really honest with one another here, guys. Bullion Cubes are mostly salt. They do add some flavor to soups, and that's why they're so important to have in your pantry. Because if you're in a jam and you're trying to cook with things only from your pantry, then you need to add just a little bit of flavor, and Bullion Cubes will do it for you. But because they're mostly salt, they last for a really, really long time on your pantry shelves.
Another good item that'll last a very long time, about 2 to 3 years, is cocoa powder. Now, this is just raw cocoa powder. That's all there is to it. You can use this to kind of darken chili. It'll add a little bit of flavor to the chili. The kids use it in cream of wheat. And of course, you also can make cocoa with it.
And you can bake with it because you know what? It makes you feel better when you're eating chocolate. You know what I'm saying? It likes help those endorphins kick in. We buy it in bulk from the local Amish store. You want to know more about bulk buying and how to do that and how to store items when you bulk buy? We did a series of videos on it. We'll make sure that that's linked in the description of this video. So cocoa powder.
Potato flakes are an amazing item to have in your pantry. Did you know that they'll last from 12 to 18 months?
Now, that's unless you're buying it from like a proper supply source. If you're buying it canned with oxygen absorbers in it, then it is going to last probably 8 to 10 years. But in this form, unopened, you're talking probably 12 to 18 months. Remember, all of these things we're showing you in the video, they're actually on the shelves of our pantry. We literally walked back there and pulled everything off the shelf to show it to you in the video. Although nuts and nut butters, because of their high oil content, will tend to spoil more quickly on the shelves of your pantry, there's actually a really great way to get around that.
And that is powdered peanut butter. Who knew? You can buy this in a powdered form. What do you add to it? Just water?
Water.
Water. You add water to powdered peanut butter. And that item will last 15 years unopened. Rolled oats is an item that we keep on hand all the time. We eat this year round, and it will actually last up to 2 years in your pantry.
Now, if you're wondering if there's any difference in the shelf life between, let's say, traditional rolled oats and steel cut oats, the answer is no. They both pretty much have the same shelf life of about 2 years.
Tomato paste, another item that you might want to have on hand, that will last up to 2 years.
after you've opened it, about 7 to 10 days in the refrigerator. Tea, it's worth mentioning that last week in that video, we did talk about keeping a variety of herbs and spices on hand, specifically when you're able to make teas with them, mainly for medicinal purposes. But in addition to that, it's great to have like some orange pico tea on hand, or some green tea also is a great thing to have in your pantry, and they last for a really long period of time.
Dried pasta will last up to 3 years.
And quinoa, which is a complete protein, of course, and vegan, will last 2 to 3 years also on the shelves of your pantry. Okay, that's our list. We would love to know what is on your list for things that you love to keep in your emergency food pantry. Let us know what we missed in the comments section of the video. Now, once again, if you missed last week's video, that was our top 10 list that we started with. And that top 10 list video for pantry supplies is listed right over there. You're going to want to click on that and watch that if you missed it.